Good morning and welcome everybody to the Crypto Mining Show, your one-stop shop for all cryptocurrency news from the perspective of a cryptocurrency miner. Today, we're going to be talking about the CPI numbers and how that has influenced the crypto market to go up. And in addition to that, we have plenty more to talk about. We have the Celsius CEO cashing in on the Celsius short squeeze, which is quite interesting. We also have someone trolling celebrities by sending ETH from Tornado Cash because apparently now, if you have received any sort of payment from a wallet that was tied to Tornado Cash, you could go to prison, which is absolute insanity. More cryptocurrency under attack by the federal governments and the nation states around the world, essentially, is what's going on. CleanSpark raises year-end hash rate guidance and sets a 2023 outlook. And Bitcoin miner Riot Blockchain delays their earning reports, which is nuts. We also have the new ATX 3.0 ready power supply, the first official launch of one coming soon from MSI, and the power numbers for the RTX 4000 series have been rumored to be reduced. We also have some announcements of releases both from mining software as well as basically some client updates or blockchain updates from Veriscoin. Let's get into all of that and more right after a word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Crypto.com. Crypto.com is my go-to centralized exchange for liquidating my crypto assets. With their Crypto.com Visa debit card, I can load up my mined Ethereum to pay for power and other operating costs. In addition to the Visa debit card, there are additional fiat options, including wire transfers, to easily receive your profits. Crypto.com also offers additional services including trading and even staking to earn additional revenue on your investments. Join 10 million plus users buying and selling 100 plus cryptocurrencies at true cost by using my affiliate link in the description for a $25 funding bonus. Or enter referral code SOAT at sign up for the same bonus. Remember, cryptocurrency investment comes with significant risks, so do your own research. And welcome back, everybody. So first things first, LOL Miner has a new miner release out right now. Version 1.54 released 4 hours ago on, of course, August 10th, 2022. They fixed a bug sometimes causing duplicate send shares in Caspa dual mining. And they fixed a bug, received a defect stratum message, conversion of data to type B failed on new Caspa pools and the solo mining adapters. They also fixed a bug causing dual worker not to work right with Caspa dual mining. So a bunch of improvements for Caspa in particular from LOL Miner, and LOL Miner being kind of one of the premier miners out there. Really focusing down on Caspa is good news for Caspa, I think, at the end of the day. The question surrounding Caspa that I have is how bumpy of a road is this conversion from Go to Rust going to be? And that's yet to be seen. But overall, pretty good news for Caspa related to a minor release from LOL Miner. Now, Veriscoin also has a new update. They are announcing version 9.3, and it's not mandatory for mainnet, but it is mandatory for testnet use. The big part of this will be launching the new Ethereum bridge and enabling the full use of Ethereum mapped currencies on the Goerli Ethereum testnet. They used to use Rinkeby, but as you guys know, with, of course, all of these test merges happening, it makes sense that they would move to pretty much the last one standing with Goerli and kind of the biggest one with the most applications and stuff for their testnet. So it's not really crazy to see this happening. Basically, they say they did this because it makes it easy for any currency definition to become a fully decentralized auditable stable coin simply by mapping to DAI, USDT, or USDC, or another stablecoin on Ethereum. In addition, the new website for MetaMask support and use from Ethereum now displays all mapped currency options, even those added when someone exports a currency definition to Ethereum, either as a mapped currency or for use or for using any Veris or PBAAS currency as an ERC20, which is public blockchain as a service, by the way, PBAAS. So there you go. That is pretty much the wrap up of all the releases today. Both pretty exciting things for smaller coins right now. Veriscoin being one that I did CPU mine for quite some time. Let's get into the hardware releases and information and news. The RTX 4080 and 4070 power consumption is dropped by up to 30%. This is great news. So apparently Ada Lovelace's total board power is looking far more reasonable now. Resident Twitter leaker Copite7 Kimmy updated the public with new power consumption expectations for the upcoming RTX 4080 and 4070. The wattage of the 4070 has gone down a bit to 285 watts from a previously projected 300 watts. The RTX 4080's power consumption target meanwhile plummeted to just 320 watts, matching the RTX 3080's official total board power. Previous rumors suggested it might have been 450 watt total board power for the 80 series of the Ada Lovelace GPUs. We don't know why the power expectations have gone down so unexpectedly, especially with the RTX 4080. However, Copite posted another tweet around the same time saying the high 40 series power consumption has become problematic, resulting in a reduction of power output to ampere levels. Presumably, clock speeds and performance have been adjusted as well. And this means that this might not actually be good news, and that is something to pay attention to. The power expectations basically are too high, right? The power is too high, too damn high, guys. And so with the 40 series, they're having to bring the power levels down. But what comes along with bringing the power levels down? Well, performance comes down. Now, we already know that on the memory side of things that the performance is going to be below that of the 30 series. So for mining memory intensive algorithms, we're assuming that we're not going to get much of an improvement, if any improvement at all, with Ada Lovelace. But we may get an improvement, of course, on the IPC side with the core specific algorithms and so on. So things like, once again, Caspa or Flux or Ravencoin and so on. But that's yet to be seen. It sounds like now at this point we won't get as much of a performance increase as was expected because they're having to bring the power levels down. And that's going to be a big deal, I think. I think that at this point, Ada Lovelace is not looking as strong as the RX 7000 series from AMD and Radeon, in my humble opinion. And we may be seeing what we saw with AMD versus Intel on the CPU side of things start to come to fruition on the GPU side of things, if I had to take a bet. And let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Of course, having lower power consumption requirements is going to be better. Maybe we don't have to, as miners or even gamers or people that are building PCs, upgrade to the ATX 3.0 power supply standard. However, there are those power supplies still coming to the market, as MSI has unveiled their MEG AI 1300P PCIe 5 power supply, which is the world's first true ATX 3.0 ready power supply. But MSI today announces its MEG AI 1300P PCIe 5, becoming the first manufactured in the world to offer a fully ATX 3.0 compliant power supply. Earlier this year, we revealed the first exclusive photos of the MSI MEG PSU lineup with full ATX 3.0 standard compliance. We also talked about how the next-gen PSUs are being designed to sustain power excursions of up to 3 times, which would be something that consumers have to keep in mind if they are planning to upgrade to the next-gen graphics cards. And you can see here, it says 3 times the GPU power excursion, 2 times the total power excursion in this slide here, which is pretty crazy. We have some more slides you can see here. Only 1 16-pin. So this is a little crazy. So on a 1300 watt power supply and 1000 watt power supply, you're still only getting one of these 16-pin power outputs for PCIe 5.0, And some of these cards presumably may come with 2, but maybe not anymore since they're reducing the power requirements on these. A single PCIe 5.0 16-pin will supply up to 600 watts of power, so it's kind of understandable that they couldn't put 2 because you have a 1,000-watt power supply and you have a 1,300-watt power supply, and you need something for the rest of the components that are going to be on there in general. So you might not even see that until you get to like the 1,600-watt range where you would have double 16 pins available. And you can see here on the 3090 Supreme that they got basically the 3x8s, and they show the old support for that. And then on the 3090 Ti, the single 16 pin there. So it's pretty much what we're looking at as far as these power supplies go. And Ada Lovelace coming down in power consumption. I'm pretty excited for, the new power supplies in general, because I think they are going to be a lot more reliable. That being said, from a mining standpoint, I'm not that big on it, because who wants to upgrade all their infrastructure? For the most part, most miners, I think at this point, are utilizing server grade power supplies. They're utilizing, the HP power supplies or Lite-On or something along those lines with breakout boards, or in some sort of server chassis like Octominer and the likes. So that's kind of what we're taking a look at. Speaking of, make sure you check out the affiliate links and all that sort of stuff for Octominer down in the description. Now, MSI is finally officially unveiling it. And the press release says MSI welcomes the MSI AI 1300P PCIe 5 power supply unit, the world's first power supply unit to be fully ready for ATX 3.0 and PCIe 5.0. With graphics cards becoming all the more important, users must know what components to buy for their system if they are looking to upgrade. To understand why the MEG AI 1300P PCIe 5 is the ultimate feature-proof power supply unit, let's begin with understanding ATX 3.0. ATX 3.0 is Intel's new specification standard for existing power supplies. In short, ATX 3.0's main purpose is to help provide more reliability and better power efficiency and provide graphics cards up to 600 watts of power. ATX 3.0 is created in response to graphics cards' increase in performance and the ever-increasing need for power. ATX 3.0 puts heavy emphasis on power excursions to make sure high-performance graphics cards can be sustained and your system can remain stable. Now, remember, there's been a ton of stability issues even with the 3000 series of GPUs, so it's not crazy to think that upgrading to this even with like a 3080 or a 3090 or a 3090 Ti wouldn't be helpful if you are having some weird power excursions. Now, personally, I'm running like a 1600 watt power supply, which seems to take care of those power excursions from a 3090, but if you're running anything below that, I have seen issues on below 1000 watt power supplies and the 3090. In fact, like we had some power excursions on a 3090 while playing New World that blew up our power supply and the GPU at the same time early on when it first released, and that is something to keep in mind. ATX 3.0 added a new PCIe 5.0 12 VHP power, or VHPWR, there we go, connector that features 12 plus 4 pins instead of the traditional 6 or 8. With the new PCIe 5.0 connector, the power supply and cable can supply up to 600 watts of power. So they are fully ready to go at this point. And it is kind of interesting that we do have, at the end of the day, a power supply that is cutting edge coming from MSI of all places, and not something like Seasonic or EVGA or one of those. According to PCI SIG, graphics cards are capable of exceeding their maximum power by 3 times. This is especially the case for high performance graphics cards such as the 3090 Ti. So don't get confused. This is already a problem with current gen GPUs. It is believed that the upcoming graphics cards need 600 watts of power and will have power excursions of up to 1800 watts. So the power excursions only last 100 milliseconds, but can already heavily disrupt the computer system. Power excursions are also known as power spikes by many people. So this is pretty much a new standard to take care of those power spikes. And they have all the information in the article linked in the description below if you want to look at the details and their testing slides, because I find them quite interesting and I think it's super relevant right now. I don't think that I want to be purchasing these to mine with though, right? Because this becomes extremely stressful if you are only getting one 16 pin out and you're going to be able to run like 14090 or 13090 on it safely from a technical perspective. It doesn't seem like it's very good for mining in general, right? Like, we'll have to see what comes out later on down the line, maybe on the server side of things. Some of that can be compensated with by having really high rated old ATX PSUs on the 3090 side, for example, right? Because you do have essentially higher efficiency, right? So if you go platinum, you have a higher efficiency than if you stick with gold. Now, on the Bitcoin miner news, Bitcoin miner Riot Blockchain delays earnings reports to sort out how much crypto route devalued its assets. Excuse me. Whew. And a crack. Its rivals Marathon, Cypher, and CleanSpark all managed to get their results out this week as expected. Bitcoin miner Riot Blockchain delayed its quarterly earnings report because it needs more time to calculate how much the cryptocurrency route, the war in Ukraine, and other macroeconomic issues have cut the value of its assets. The delay was disclosed in a Tuesday filing with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, less than a week after the company said it had planned to release the figures on August 9th. Riot's rivals, Marathon Digital Holdings, Cypher Mining, and CleanSpark all reported their earnings this week as anticipated. Riot became one of the industry's biggest miners when it bought a gigantic facility in Rockdale, Texas in May of 2021. Bitcoin miners have seen their margins slashed as the price of the world's biggest cryptocurrency by market value has dropped, while energy prices, a major part of miners' costs, have soared globally due to the war in Ukraine. Last week, Riot said it mined 28% fewer Bitcoin in July than usual. Riot curtailed its energy consumption, earning $9.5 million in power credits as heat waves swept through Texas, increasing the state's demand for power. During the same month, 12,146 of Riot's mining rigs were offline as they were transferred from New York to Texas. Riot's stock fell about 2% following the disclosure of the delay. So if we're looking at all the mining companies, obviously Riot's a little bit behind. It probably helped them out today to push it off as we start to see Bitcoin right now just cross $24,000. If you take a look up here, which is pretty crazy. And that is all, of course, due to the CPI that we'll be talking about in a little bit. Now, their competitor CleanSpark raises their year-end hash rate guidance and sets a 2023 outlook. The miner suffered a $29.3 million loss for the first fiscal quarter, or for the fiscal quarter. I think that's actually Q2, excuse me, not first fiscal quarter, partly driven by the previously disclosed decision to sell its energy assets. Reporting results for its fiscal third quarter. There we go, third quarter. I am behind. Time flies when you talk about crypto, huh? It said it will sell its energy business assets in order to focus completely on Bitcoin mining. CleanSpark got its start in 2014 providing energy products to homes and businesses. It entered Bitcoin mining in 2020, according to the company website. Today, more than 90% of revenue comes from Bitcoin mining, CEO Zach Bradford said during Tuesday's earnings conference call. The firm reported a $29.3 million net loss for the third quarter of its fiscal year, in part driven by the reclassification of the energy business to be discontinued, which resulted in a $10.6 million impairment charge. The miner's adjusted EBITDA was $15.2 million for the quarter, down from $22.5 million in the previous quarter. Revenue of $31 million missed analyst estimates for $34.5 million, according to FactSet data. Adjusted EBITDA of $15.2 million was down from the $22 million of the previous quarter. I think that was stated twice, essentially. CleanSpark differs from some other Bitcoin miners as it has been a consistent seller of mined Bitcoin to raise cash. It thus entered a current bear market with less debt and had been in acquisition mode, which is incredibly important right now. That means that when they were, in the bull cycle, they were continuing to sell their Bitcoin and have a better cash position, which clearly puts them in an advantaged position in relation to someone like Riot blockchain, right? The latest deal was announced earlier Tuesday, the purchase for $25.1 million on an active 36 megawatt Bitcoin mine in the U.S. state of Georgia, as well as 3,400 mining rigs currently running at the site. The company upped hash rate guidance for the year end of 2022 to 5 exahash a second and issued guidance for the end of 2023 when it expects to reach 22.4 exahash a second. CleanSpark differs from some other Bitcoin miners as it has been consistent seller of mined Bitcoin to raise cash. It thus entered this current bear market with less debt and has been in acquisition mode. The latest deal was announced earlier Tuesday, and the purchase for $25.1 million of active 36 megawatt Bitcoin mine in U.S. state of Georgia, as well as the 3,400 rigs currently running at the site. So they are in acquisition mode. We've talked about moves in acquisitions, M&A, all that sort of stuff with these companies. And the ones that are able to do it are the ones that were getting themselves into a cash position during the bull run. So as a small miner, what can you learn from that? That means that you prepare yourself for the bull run to set aside a bit of a cash position to capitalize on the bear market. It's a mistake that I think a lot of us have made, maybe didn't move into a cash position hard enough. And it's clear to see the writing on the wall for what you should be doing as far as, a bear market versus a bull run and how you should be planning out for that. Of course, that's not financial advice. We are just looking at what other people do and what their success is, and then trying to determine how we could do that on a smaller level, especially as GPU miners, which have a little bit more of an interesting position in this bear market with the impending Ethereum merge, right? But crypto mixing service Tornado Cash blacklisted by the US Treasury. And this is a big deal, guys, because what we're seeing is an attack on cryptocurrency in general, and it will start in the areas where people can justify it, right? And they're going to justify it through the means of saying people are doing bad things, or like the article that we saw yesterday, right? They kind of classified all these crypto miners in Kazakhstan as a gang because they found one AK-47. But I'm sorry, like in a third world country like Kazakhstan, I would have expected to find a lot more guns for a gang being busted than one AK-47. Just saying, I think that's a little ridiculous, but they're going to find things like that, right? So if you've used Tornado Cash, you could be in trouble, by the way, because they are going to pursue, I think, legal proceedings surrounding it. Let's get into the article, though. The department barred its use by U.S. persons as a matter of national security because North Korean hackers allegedly used the mixer to launder stolen crypto funds. The Treasury Department has banned all Americans from using decentralized crypto mixing service Tornado Cash. The Office of Foreign Assets Control, a watchdog agency tasked with preventing sanctions violations, on Monday added Tornado Cash to its specially designed nationalist list, a running tally of blacklisted people, entities, and cryptocurrency addresses. As a result, all U.S. persons and entities are prohibited from interacting with Tornado Cash or any of the Ethereum wallet addresses tied to the protocol. Those who do may face criminal penalties. Tornado Cash has been the key tool for Lazarus Group, a North Korean hacking group tied to the $625 million March hack of Axie Infinity's Ronin network, according to the Treasury Department. Blockchain analysts showed that tens of millions of dollars worth of crypto stolen from Ronin flowed through Tornado Cash, which is designed to obfuscate the source of the funds. OFAC previously sanctioned Blender.io, another mixing service that the Treasury Department alleged was used to launder proceedings from ransomware attacks, as well as about $20.5 million in crypto stolen from Ronin. Tornado Cash has been the go-to mixer for cyber criminals looking to launder the proceeds of crime, as well as helping to enable hackers, including those currently under U.S. sanctions, to launder the proceeds of their cyber crimes by covering up the origin and transfer of this illicit virtual currency, end quote, a senior department official said. Since its creation back in 2019, Tornado Cash has reportedly laundered more than $7 billion worth of virtual currency. Ari Redbird, head of legal and government affairs at analytics firm TRM Labs, told CoinDesk that the move is the Treasury Department's largest, most impactful action in crypto to date. The Ronin hackers have repeatedly laundered Ronin proceeds through the Tornado Cash Tornado Cash, according to on-chain data analysis, even after OFAC sanctioned an Ethereum address tied to the Lazarus group it alleged was related to the hack. According to data from blockchain analytics firm Nansen, Ether deposits on Tornado Cash spiked after Ronin was hacked earlier this year. The average amount of ETH deposited on Tornado Cash eclipsed 220,000 in May and June, according to Nansen. This total was worth 220 billion to 660 billion during that range, data from CoinGecko shows. Overall, some 18% of the total amount of ETH flowing through Tornado Cash in recent months, 167,400 ETH, came from the Ronin hack, according to Nansen. Proceeds from other hacks have also traveled through Tornado Cash, according to blockchain analysis groups like Elliptic, roughly 4,600 ETH, worth around $15 million at the time, stolen from the crypto exchange Crypto.com, was laundered through the mixing service earlier this year. Proceeds from the $100 million hack of the Harmony Bridge were laundered through Tornado Cash, and even proceeds from this month's $200 million hack of the Nomad Bridge moved through the service. Redbird said that the sanctioning of Blender.io, which is smaller than Tornado Cash, could be seen as a preview of Monday's action, where OFAC may have hinted that entities allegedly laundering for criminals or we're back. Looks like we had a little snafu. We'll have to go back to our live. Hold on. Give me a second, boys. We had the internet drop out on us. The interwebs dropped out on us, boys. It went down hardcore. And it looks like everything is back. Ooh. All right, so let's get back into this on the national security side of things. It says Redbird said the sanctioning of Blender.io, which is smaller than Tornado Cash, could be seen as the preview of Monday's action, where OFAC may have hinted that entities allegedly laundering for criminals such as nations as North Korea may be in danger of violating sanctions. When you talk about North Korea in particular, Tornado Cash has been the go-to mixing service, Redbird said. What OFAC is saying is these hacks are more than hacks. They're serious national security risks. It's not just money laundering, it's money laundering that's going to be used for weapons proliferation. What makes the new sanction interesting is that Tornado Cash also has a significant amount of value that flows through it, but is not associated with any illicit activities. Adding the mixer to the sanctions list means all U.S. persons are responsible for ensuring they do not interact with crypto transacted through the service. Quote, I think what we're seeing here from the Treasury is if you're going to allow a lot of illicit activity, we are going to go after you, even if there's a lot of legitimate activity, Redbird said. And that's a problem, because this goes all the way back to as something as similar as like email encryption and the crackdown in the mid to late 90s on encryption, just basically due to the fact that they said, poor or basically criminals were using it, right? and wanting to get in there and expose it all. The problem is as an individual, you should have the right to obfuscate your transactions, not just from nation states or something like that, or to get around taxes, but to also protect your funds, right? So there's a lot more reasons to use Tornado Cash than just to obfuscate it from authorities, but also to obfuscate it from anybody that may be a bad actor that may want to attack you or be aware of whatever proceedings you're going through. Like, this is public blockchain. You should have a way to basically obfuscate if you want. That's my humble opinion, and it doesn't mean that you're a criminal if you do so. Indeed, the U.S. government has spent years warning that crypto mixers may be illegal or aid in illegal activity. Earlier this year, Alessio Evangelista, I think I said that right, former Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCEN, Associate Director for Enforcement, told the industry that crypto service providers should be proactive in blocking transactions from problematic wallets rather than wait for an OFAC designation. Sanctions may not halt Tornado Cash itself from operating. Co-founder Roman Semenov previously told CoinDesk the privacy service was designed to operate without centralized control. While he and his team write and publish code, a decentralized autonomous organization has to approve any changes before they are made. Quote, the protocol was specifically designed this way to be unstoppable because it wouldn't make much sense if some third party, such as a developer, would have control over it. This would be the same as if someone had control over Bitcoin or Ethereum. Well, I mean, Ethereum. He told CoinDesk. The developers went so far as to make open source its entire user interface, allowing anyone to weigh in on the code or the mixer's design. Depositing funds into Tornado Cash places them into a pool of other users' tokens. From here, users can withdraw their funds to another address while concealing where they came from originally. Tornado Cash says it's non-custodial, meaning users maintain complete control of their funds at all times, even if those funds are technically in one of Tornado's pools. Semenov previously told Bloomberg News that it would be technically impossible for sanctions to be applied to protocols like Tornado. And this is the thing that I think we've talked about a lot before, but there's a whole path here that we're going down in society, specifically as it pertains to like digital currencies, but the digital world as a whole. And it gets to the point to where these things they're going to run out in the wild and they're not going to be controllable. No matter how hard any specific government tries to control it, it's going to be near impossible, if not completely impossible at the end of the day. You're not going to be able to stop cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. That's the beautiful thing about it. And any of these tools that are open source and truly deployed on the blockchain like this, they're not going to be able to be stopped. It'll always be out there. You can try to punish as many individuals as you want for utilizing them, but you're just going to waste time, money, and resources, and your fiat money that you keep printing on trying to do so. And it's not too dissimilar from the 87,000 IRS agents that we have now that are supposed to be coming along the way to ping people that make under $400,000 for paying more taxes. At the end of the day, it's going to be too difficult for 87,000 people or 87,000 agents, if they can even hire that many, to go audit 30 million people. And then if you get to the point to where you're going to start punishing them and putting them in prison or jail or whatever, all you're going to really do is collapse the economy further, because you're going to be throwing innocent people into prison who were doing work, right? So now you have a society of a whole bunch of people that are in control of it. They have no skills, right? No skills to be a plumber or an electrician. And then you're going to be throwing your plumbers and your electricians and your cooks and everybody in prison. And then you just collapse your economy. It's going to be absolutely ridiculous if that is the path that we decide to go down as a society. But at the end of the day, as far as Tornado Cash is concerned, yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to just shut down Tornado Cash at this point. You're just going to go through and try to punish as many people as you can. And there's probably going to be some like high profile people that they're going to target to put fear into the public, to say like, hey, look, don't use this because we're clearly cracking down hard on it. and it's ridiculous. It's a waste of time and resources. The senior Treasury Department official said during a press call that the agency would continue monitoring mixers and could take further action if Tornado Cash continues as is. Since we sanctioned virtual currency mixer Blender.io, we have not seen evidence to suggest that it has remained active post that designation, the official said. We do believe that this action will send a really critical message to the private sector about risks associated with mixers writ large, which obviously is designed to inhibit Tornado Cash or any sort of reconstituted versions of it to continue to operate. In Monday's action, OFAC sanctioned Tornado Cash's donation address, proxy address, a Gitcoin grants address, and several others, including a few USDC addresses. More than 40 addresses in total were put on sanctions lists. Circle blacklisted the sanctioned Tornado addresses, freezing over $75,000 worth of USDC later Monday. Tornado Cash's GitHub and website went offline as well, and Tornado Cash developer Roman Semenov's GitHub was suspended. So they are going to go after those centralized entry points into it, right? You get rid of the GitHub, you get rid of the website. They can do all that on Web 2.0. But we have Web 3.0 coming about, and that's kind of where I say, at the end of the day, it's kind of unstoppable. It's inevitable. Is there a problem with laundering? Is there a problem with illegal activity? Yes, there is. But do you attack the service, or do you attack the people that are committing the illegal activity? That's the line here, right? It's not dissimilar from email encryption when we talk about, well, Al-Qaeda is using email encryption. Okay, well, why ban email encryption? Why not go to the source of the actual criminal activity and take care of that? That is the path that you should take, in my humble opinion. This is ridiculous. But it doesn't matter, because obviously the internet's going to get involved, and somebody is now trolling celebrities by sending ETH from Tornado Cash. They're like, oh, you're going to put all the people in prison that have received any sort of cryptocurrency from Tornado Cash? Well, here you go. Let's just start sending it all out. An anonymous crypto user transferred small amounts of Ether from sanctioned addresses to stars and prominent crypto figures on Tuesday. An anonymous user sent a slew of Tornado Cash transactions to high-profile Ethereum addresses on Tuesday in what appears to be a troll, implicating them in a potential regulatory mess. Affected wallets include those controlled by Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong, TV host Jimmy Fallon, clothing brand Puma, and a wallet created for donations to Ukraine, according to Etherscan. I love how it's like, well, Ukraine's already corrupt, so they aren't going to go do anything with them. It's just kind of funny that they're going to throw that out there. Prominent crypto figures such as artist Beeple and more mainstream celebrities such as comedian Dave Chappelle received Ether. The Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Asset Control, a watchdog agency of the U.S. government, sanctioned Tornado Cash on Monday. So anyways, that we already got that. A U.S. person includes anyone on U.S. soil as well as any American citizen abroad. Tornado Cash is a mixer, a protocol designed to pool funds. We got all that. But let's get into the nitty gritty, right? So the idea to send 0.1 ETH to celebrity wallets appears to have originated on Twitter in a Monday post by user Depression 2019, who has since retweeted screen grabs from the on-chain transactions. The gag effectively points out the absurdity of such sanctions for users receiving funds from blacklisted addresses that they have no power to decline. The open nature of crypto is designed to cut out intermediaries, unlike the traditional financial sector that would use banks and other financial institutions to act as gatekeepers against such transactions. Because Tornado Cash is a sanctioned entity, U.S. persons would likely be under a legal obligation to block incoming transactions from its wallets. OFAC rules mandate that U.S. persons freeze any transactions or funds sent from Tornado Cash. It isn't possible to block an incoming transfer on chain, so exchanges and other parties would most likely have to block the addresses. This may not be easy for celebrities and businesses with public wallets that aren't operated by an exchange or similar type of business. Once again, decentralization versus centralization, and hits the fan, they're not going to be able to go through and actually implement this. You can't, because what are they going to do? Now it's very clear that you have no control of who sends you anything on chain. So somebody, a bad actor, sure, or whatever, a protester can go send it from the blacklisted addresses to a ton of different people. And now at this point, how are you going to audit all that? You're going to be wasting resources once again. It is absolutely hilarious though. But, some people should probably get in trouble. Let's talk about Celsius CEO. He cashed in after bankrupt crypto lenders' tokens surged. This is the first time the address attributed to the co-founder, Alex Mashinsky, was used since the company froze withdrawals and entered bankruptcy. While a group of traders has been busy pumping the bankrupt crypto lender Celsius Network's ZIL token in a short squeeze, founder and CEO Alex Mashinsky cashed out some of his ZIL tokens holdings, which have multiplied in value even as his company struggles. Blockchain data shows a crypto address identified by crypto intelligence firms Nansen and Arkham Intelligence as Mashinsky's made its first transaction since late May. The wallet sold ZIL tokens in multiple transactions Saturday and Tuesday, swapping 17,475 ZIL for $28,242 worth of Ethereum on the decentralized exchange Uniswap, according to blockchain data tracer Etherscan. The transfers were first spotted by a Twitter user who goes by the name Alto. Celsius and Alex Mashinsky did not respond to CoinDesk's emailed request for comment. Mashinsky's transfers came as he and his enterprise gear up for a second hearing in a federal bankruptcy court in New York next week. At the same time, the Unsecured Creditors Commission, UCC, formed to protect the interests of those who deposited money on the Celsius platform, is preparing to investigate Mashinsky and other insiders. Celsius faced financial difficulties and froze withdrawals in June, then filed for bankruptcy protection on July 13th. The ZIL coin, issued by the crypto lending platform as a utility token, also faces regulatory scrutiny from the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission for not being registered as a security. Mashinsky is reportedly among the largest individual ZIL holders after Celsius Treasury. Long before its financial woes, Celsius publicly listed the largest ZIL owners on its webpage. Mashinsky was found to hold more tokens than the next four holders combined. Arkham reported in July in a lengthy investigation into Celsius and Mashinsky using blockchain data. Arkham identified multiple wallets owned by Mashinsky, which had regularly sold large amounts of ZIL tokens on various decentralized exchanges, totaling $44 million over several years, the report added. The specific wallet that completed the transaction held about $1.1 million in ZIL tokens and some ETH and USDC at press time, according to Nansen's portfolio tracker. ZIL has rallied in a community-driven short squeeze attempt. The token was recently changing hands at around $2, which marks a whopping 13-fold price increase since it hit 15 cents on the day when Celsius announced the suspension of customer withdrawals. And we talked about the Celsius short squeeze, and it's a kind of a weird spot to be in because part of the short squeeze was to essentially stop the short selling on FTX and hurt the holders of ZIL, when in general the people that were invested in ZIL are already in a hurting position. So like I said in that video, I completely understand the point, but if your largest holder is also the person that is hurting these people, you get into an odd kind of murky situation, right? Because Alex Mashinsky here has all of it. So should you be shorting it and basically benefiting him more than you're benefiting the people that are being hurt in this situation? Once again, it all comes down to education, though, and understanding that you shouldn't participate in any of these CFI entities or centralized DeFi entries, however you want to I guess, determine what something like Celsius or BlockFi actually is, right? As opposed to DeFi, which is kind of what they go off the tails of. This is why I get very frustrated with projects that have centralized portions to them that then want to ride off the tailcoats of a PR marketing campaign on decentralization. Look, if you want to be centralized or have a centralized portion of your project, that's fine. Don't run off the curtails of decentralization and advertise down that path and confuse retail investors. It's dishonest to a certain extent and very frankly frustrating. So I really don't like that kind of practice within cryptocurrency. And I mean, Celsius has done it, BlockFi has done it. A lot of people have done this, and I don't, I think that needs to be called out when it is done like that. But in this particular case, like I said, you're basically with this short squeeze just enriching, Alex Mashinsky here, who has basically locked up all of his user funds and basically hurt a bunch of people that were not educated. Once again, it's an education process that we need to go through. If you do not control your keys, you don't control the crypto, and you need to be very careful with these lending platforms that don't allow you to control your keys. Yes, I understand DeFi has its own problems with bridges, etc. as well, and that's going to be more down the line of the hacking problem, but that can be solved with technology down the road, I think, at the end of the day. So everybody's like, why is Flux up? Why is Bitcoin up? Why is this up? Why is that? Everything is up because the CPI reports came in lower than 9%, guys. That's it. That's all it is. U.S. inflation slowed to 8.5% in July, and CPI report shows Bitcoin jumps. Crypto markets responded to positively after this slower than expected inflation reading, which takes some pressure off the Federal Reserve to continue to hike aggressively at the September meeting. U.S. inflation slowed last month, possibly strengthening a widely held narrative that the worst of the consumer price increases is behind the economy. Bitcoin jumped 2% and Ethereum 7% in the minutes after the report, signaling a relief on part of crypto traders that the Federal Reserve might be able to relax its aggressive approach to tightening monetary conditions. The consumer price index surged 8.5% in July on a year-over-year basis, though it was unchanged from the previous month, partly thanks to lower energy prices. A report by the Bureau of Labor Statistics showed the annual figure compared with an average estimate of 8.7% in a survey of economists by FactSet. Stripping out food and energy prices because of their strong volatility, core CPI remained unchanged at 5.9% over the past 12 months, slightly missing expectations of 6.1%. Most cryptocurrencies across the board declined on Tuesday in anticipation for the report, with Bitcoin dropping about 4% to 23,100 after rising above 24K on Monday. And this is another thing I wanted to point out because some people were also talking about Ergo and how Ergo's not really pumping. Ergo didn't have the decrease in price yesterday that the rest of the cryptocurrency market had. So technically it kind of just stayed right where it was at. And I think like that can be a little confusing, but why is that? It's because Ergo's not being traded as much. And that is because it's a smaller coin. So it didn't have the anticipation sell-off and it didn't have the buy back in. The good news about that for Ergo holders is that the Ergo holders are just holding it through no matter what at that point. Most cryptocurrencies across the board declined on Tuesday. Yep, so there we go. We got that. Quote, I think the market will continue to find confidence in the Fed staying on track with its proposed increase to the interest rates at the September meeting, and we will continue to see our relief rally pick up steam in the crypto market, said Howard Greenberg, a cryptocurrency educator at Prosper Trading Academy. Traders are now betting on a 65% chance that the Fed will hike the interest rates by 50 basis points in September, compared to 32% just one day ago, according to the CME FedWatch tool. Recently, traders had been seeing a 75 basis point hike as the likelier scenario after the jobs report last week showed that the economy is still in very good shape to sustain more rate hikes. Several central bankers have signaled that they will continue to tighten until they see inflation come down significantly. The Fed will be cheered by the news, especially the fact that core inflation was also lower than expected, said Richard Carter, head of fixed interest research at Quilter Cheviot, a UK-based investment management firm. They will still need to hike rates at their next meeting in September, but this reduces the risk of another 75 basis points move, and go forward, we might just see markets act a little calmer than they have to date. Now, obviously, the CPI is not really indicative of what's actually happening. We also are pulling out here. This is what's funny. When we talk about CPI and we talk about the core CPI as well, and then people will, they'll pull out for this one here, the food and energy prices. It's a little frustrating because everything that actually impacts the individual that is not extremely rich, like food and energy prices, being pulled out of that, and then that kind of being the number that people roll off of for their BPS hikes or whatever, means that it's really not an economy that's focused on the day-to-day average worker or average citizen, right? So we're just going to be pumping up also investments that enrich the people that already have a bunch of money. And that is kind of where you run into like a weird scenario where it just keeps filtering up to the top. And I don't know that it really helps anybody at the bottom that's still worried about filling up their gas tank to get to work. And it's extremely frustrating. Another thing about this, is I'm not so sure that we're necessarily out of the woods yet as far as all of this goes. There's too much going on in the world to assume that this won't come back around to bite everybody, right? You have tensions in Taiwan and China. You have tensions, obviously, in Russia and Ukraine. These are all things that are going to impact the economy as well. And if we are being completely honest, when we look at what's happening right now with these numbers being reported and the timing for the elections are coming up. So they're going to want to, for their party, increase the, the performance or how good the performance of the economy looks. So when we were supposed to have, a 100 BPS hike, we had a 75 basis point hike. And I think that, from my perspective, I'm not so sure I would take it just wholeheartedly, especially when we're looking at the markets, because there is that kind of nature of it being used to pump up, the economy right before an election. So we have these midterm elections coming up. I believe, as far as like Democrats being in control, they want the economy to look good so that, of course, they get more votes. And that is kind of the unfortunate part on the U.S. politics side, is it can kind of mask deeper rooted issues that are going on. And I do think that there are deeper rooted issues that are going on. So after the midterm elections is really when we're going to be seeing the impacts to the economy, in my humble opinion, not necessarily before, because you're going to get some of this artificial improvement of the economy, and these kind of reports that come out there maybe not exactly accurate, right? That's all I'm saying. I'm not positive, but that's going to be either side too. The Republicans are going to boost the economy right before a midterm election, and so are the Democrats, right? That's the entire point of it. And the economy isn't doing as well because most of the job markets that we are looking at increasing right now have been part-time jobs, and that's because of the strain that the federal government has put on smaller businesses from a tax burden perspective. And then you end up not hiring people at full time because of the tax burden, right? So it's all kind of compounds. But if we're looking at the market itself, what you have here for the past 24 hours, let's go ahead and get into that. Celsius is at the top because it's getting that short squeeze. Lido, Phantom, Nexo, and Uniswap. I was looking for like the first proof of work coin, and it does appear to be Cadena at this point. So if you were looking for the proof of work coin that pumped the most in the past 24 hours post news, it does look like Cadena. Now, there are reports of Flux as well getting a good pump, so we can go ahead and take a look at that. And yes, it did. It's at 22% up. Is that the past 24 hours. Is that right? Anyways, Flux is up pretty high as well right now as far as its increase. Yeah. Boom. All right. So there you go. Let's get into mining profitability. Right after a word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Crypto.com. Crypto.com is my go-to centralized exchange for liquidating my crypto assets. With their Crypto.com Visa debit card, I can load up my mined Ethereum to pay for power and other operating costs. In addition to the Visa debit card, there are additional fiat options, including wire transfers, to easily receive your profits. Crypto.com also offers additional services, including trading and even staking, to earn additional revenue on your investments. Join 10 million plus users buying and selling 100 plus cryptocurrencies at true cost by using my affiliate link in the description for a $25 funding bonus. Or enter referral code SOAT at sign up for the same bonus. Remember, cryptocurrency investment comes with significant risks, so do your own research. So I guess we need some real quick clarification on this. We have not, as far as the BPS goes, that has not been determined yet. Basically what they're saying is previously 37% of people or 32% of people thought that we would have the next one be 75 BPS hike. What we are looking at now, due to the new CPI reports, is going to be a 50 basis point hike. And I think I agree with that actually being true because of the reasons I said, as far as I do believe that, with Democrats being in control and wanting to maintain control ahead of the midterm elections, that they wouldn't go with a 75 basis point hike right before midterm elections. So it's probably safe to say that we will see a 50 basis point hike instead of a 75 basis point hike, which will boost markets and make the economy look better than it actually is, so that people will vote for Democrats in the midterm elections. That is hopefully as clarified and articulated as possible so you guys understand what's happening here. That means that in the short term, running up to the midterm elections and so on, we should see a boost in pretty much all markets, including cryptocurrencies. All right, so let's get into mining profitability. We're still sitting right around the same, around $100. We're around $106 for yesterday. This is on 4.4 gigahash for the real time, an average of 4.242 gigahash over the past 24 hours. It does appear that it's getting pretty hot, too hot to trot as far as this morning goes. We're having a pretty hot day. And then our projected expected earnings is 0.069 ETH, which will put us at 116 US dollars here coming up. There's just not a lot going on the ETH network, and we talked about that yesterday, meaning that generating additional fees and revenue, etc., is not going to push that up. So I don't know. At the end of the day, we're just still sitting around $100 a day, which will keep us at about break even on my current farm, but that doesn't tell the whole story, right? I am mining with some ASICs, but mostly solo mining. We'll talk about that at some other point. And then I do have my 23090 rigs on Ergo. And this week so far, it's hit 2 blocks. It's supposed to find 1 Ergo block a week. It's found 2 so far. So this week, just those 2 rigs, I guess we could say each rig has made $100 this week. So we're doing pretty good on Ergo as far as the solo mining goes. And that is through my own node on my local land. But we covered that one on Twitch a little bit. And then I am still working on getting the process in place to figure out how to do some node guides, but they can be quite cumbersome, right? So hopefully we'll get those out to you guys. So the profitability is looking a little bit better thanks to the solo mining success that we've had. And we'll see if that continues. Let's get into what to mine. On the RTX 3090, we have basically 60 megahash a second corrected on the ProgPal, and then the 110 solution selected on the ZIL hash. And this is at 10 cents a kilowatt hour. We have a pump in Neoxa at $3.32 a day in revenue. Yep, and $2.53 a day after power. Zano comes in second at 326 a day in revenue and 247 a day after power. Be careful with both of those coins. They're pretty small cap. Ethereum at 322 a day in revenue and 246 a day after power. And Ravencoin 307 a day in revenue and a 227 a day after power. We have Cero at 273 a day in revenue and $1.94 a day after power. Firo at 271 a day in revenue and $1.96 a day after power. We have Flux at 270 a day in revenue and 201 a day after power thanks to its pump. It is now pretty high up on what to mine as well. And Ethereum Classic at 244 a day in revenue and $1.68 a day after power. We have to scroll down a little bit further for Ergo, which is at $2 a day and $1.37 a day after 10 cents a kilowatt hour power. Let's take a look at the Bitcoin charts and see if we have any big changes. We're at 232 exahash a second, so no big changes on that. Let's take a look at Ethereum. Ethereum is at 939 terahash a second, down like a couple terahash a second, probably nothing really significant. We're expecting around 32 terahash a second for Ethereum Classic. If we take a look at Flux, are we starting to see a pump? We are seeing that pump. We are seeing a pump in hash rate on Flux. Be very careful. A 20% increase in Flux does not mean it's going to accommodate for this pump that is coming into essentially, well, basically, there's been a 30% increase in hash rate on Flux, but only a 20% increase in price. And as that difficulty adjusts, this will end up bringing the profitability of Flux back down. The calculators, like what to mine, are not going to be indicative of what your actual revenue will be because, just like always, everybody's trying to hop on the same bandwagon of Flux right now, and it's outpacing the increase of the price of Flux. So be careful when you're mining it, okay? Let's take a look at Ravencoin, which is at 2.4 terahash a second, and Ergo, which was at 9, I believe, yesterday. Yeah, 9.5 terahash a second on Ergo. Let's get into mining pool profitability. For the last 90 days, ZET in first, Ether mine in second, Crazy Pool in third. Last 60 days, ZET in first, Ether mine in second, Crazy Pool in third. Last 30 days, Nano Pool in first, Mining Pool Hub in second, F2 Pool in third. Last 21 days, ZET in first, Nano Pool in second, F2 Pool in third. Last 14 days, ZET in first, Nano Pool in second, Crazy Pool in third. Last 7 days, Nano Pool in first, Flex Pool in second, F2 Pool in third. Last 3 days, Crazy Pool in first, Nano Pool in second, F2 Pool in third. Last day, Flex Pool in first, Mining Pool Hub in second, Crux Pool in third. ASIC miners, we have the E9 at the top, back over $60 a day at $65 a day. And then, of course, we scroll down and we got the KD6 beating out the L7 now for the 2 days in a row at $24 a day, and the L7 at $22.24 a day. The KD5 is back over $15 a day, so Kadena is definitely doing good. We saw that pump today as well, so it's to be expected. The S19 Pro at $6 a day on Digibyte, so it's gone up about $1 a day from yesterday when we last checked it. Now, super chats are never required, always appreciated, first to be answered, but I gotta blow through them, to be completely honest with you guys, because we have to get to jiu-jitsu and we were running late today for the stream. It's 11:11, make a wish, at least 11:11 in Texas, which is the only state that matters in the union. Just kidding. Thomas Wilson, thank you for the $5 super chat. Says, Son of a Tech, I have 2 Ethereum. Will I be able to sell them after the merge? I am mining right now. Thank you for all you're doing. Yes, you can sell them after the merge as long as you didn't stake them. If you put them in some sort of staking service, then no. But I think that is about it. Mike Wright says, Ask Simon Tech, would you buy GPUs if you can get them for $4 a mega hash on mid to upper tier and 6600 series? Keep in mind the merge coming, 1 gigahash worth. I don't know at this point really necessarily if I would be purchasing GPUs personally. I am actually, I only have 24 amps left, I think, total. So I have been actually looking at how I'm going to fill up these 24 amps, to be honest with you. And I think it's going to be more diversified across testing, etc. So that really means that I only have like 5,000 watts, right? So I only have about 5,000 watts left. So 5 kilowatts. It's not that much. That can be eaten up by one GPU rig or one ASIC. So I really, I probably try to find the best deal that I possibly could, or the one that would boost the revenue for the building the most, right? So maybe it is save up and try to get one of the ASIC miners that does do a lot in revenue, right? That's going to be under 5,000 watts. That is kind of what I'm looking at personally. Ted Park, thanks for the $5 Canadian, that Canadian money. What do you think is going to happen with inflation if they only hike 50 BPS? I don't know, because obviously, like, dude, with the new bill and everything, like, I think inflation could potentially be completely out of control in 2023, but I'm not, look, it's all funny money. And it's really hard to predict what's going to go on with funny money. I mean, like, we don't really have, like, the US dollar is in a weird position where it gets to maintain some sort of relevance because it's a reserve currency regardless of inflation. If any other country was doing what the United States is doing right now, you would probably experience hyperinflation and get completely screwed. But because of the way the United States has their currency set up as a reserve currency and forces everybody to purchase oil from Saudi Arabia with the US dollar for it, it puts it in a weird position where it maintains its strength, right? This is why in Argentina and Paraguay, when their currencies are collapsing, they're getting into crypto to buy stable coins that are backed by the US dollar. So it puts it in a really odd position where I couldn't tell you either way. I think that there are some threats to the US dollar revolving around the reserve currency. And if those come to fruition, then the US dollar is going to be in extreme strife and could experience significant inflation, worse than what we see now. And that would be BRICS, right? Which is the consortium of basically between Russia, China, Saudi Arabia and Brazil to create a competing reserve currency. And those are some really big players. If that comes into play, there's some real risk to the US dollar. The other thing that's a huge risk to the US dollar is the partnership the deal between Saudi Arabia and China to purchase oil with the yuan. That would be 20% of the oil coming from Saudi Arabia being purchased with the yuan instead of the US dollar. That would impact the US dollar pretty significantly as well and kind of knock it down in its kind of hierarchy of currencies. So that's kind of these are all the things that I look at. I'm spitballing because I'm not super educated on it, right? It's not like I went to school for any of this. It's just what I see objectively when I look at it, and what I look at from the US dollar perspective and the threats from others or from other currencies or whatever it may be. This is where you put yourself in that kind of weird, interesting spot. But with a 50 basis point hike, all you're really going to have to, that's going to be positive in the short term, right? In the long term, though, you do have more problems, right? So to fix it, like in the 70s, what they had to do was raise it up to inflation. So they went with I believe, this is off the top of my head, but it was like a 300 basis point hike or something incredible like that to combat the inflation. But we seem to be doing the opposite, which is keeping the hikes low and printing more money, right? So it seems like that would typically spell out disaster historically, but like I said, I'm not an expert on that particular situation. B Nick says, as I'm a techer, are you still mining Caspa? Yes. Daryl says, when is the daily show? It's right now, but it's every day, 9:45 a.m. Central Time. Gun Muse says, I replaced MCT oil with Fairlife whole milk and avocado oil in your milk. Interesting. Avocado oil, maybe I'll try out. Whole milk I would not make it through a show. I would start getting all gummed up. XDX says, as son of a tech mining Matic? No. But we'll hopefully be talking about that on the 18th and what's going on with ZK rollups and proofs. And it won't be mining, it'll be providing proofs. Gamer Kid says, ask Son of a Tech, let us know how you go with Tornado Cash. I'm sure someone will do it to you. I don't know that anybody will, but, you know, if we end up in that position, we end up in that position. AS says, at Son of a Tech, how about privacy of our rigs? So obviously, you can set up VPNs for that, which can be important, but also just making sure that you set up things like multi-factor and lock down your network. Diego says, ask Son of a Tech, can you please explain why to be careful mining Flux now? You couldn't understand. Because the amount of hash rate coming onto the network is exceeding the amount of the coin has gone up in price. So that means the difficulty of the network goes up, which means you're earning less Flux. So if you have the price go up 20%, but the difficulty go up 30%, you're making 10% less. Jorge says, ask Son of a Tech, been seeing on Facebook Marketplace 1660 supers at 180 to 200. Probably in for like 150, right? Mining Potato says, ask Son of a Tech, can you talk about the F2 Pool MEV paper and Flex Pool's response? I can add that to my list to talk about, but I don't have time right now. Ted Park says, ask Son of a Tech, thanks. I do think that BRICS countries could come into play. Many of the factors you mentioned are the same ones I'm looking at. That's what I see as far as like the issues we need to be paying attention to, as far as how strong is the US dollar going to maintain, right? All right, boys, I'm going to head out because it's already 11:20 and I don't want to be late and do push-ups. Hit the like, comment, subscribe, and notification bells down below, and I'll see you next Tuesday.